In this course, we're going to talk about querying SQL Server 2012. And for those of you who are new to this, I want to give you just a little SQL Server history. Now, if you've seen this before, or if you've been around a while, this might be a good video to skip. Or if you just kind of want to walk down memory lane, you can just go with us here. First of all, SQL Server started way back at SQL version 4.2. Now, this goes way back to October 1992. That seems like eons ago now in the computer world, but this is where we saw the very first inkling of a product called SQL Server. Now, this at that point was a joint effort between Microsoft and Sybase to build an enterprise database system that would compete with some of the flat file systems that were out there at the time that were just taking the market by storm. Ashton Tate had a product called DBase, and it went through DBase, DBase 2, DBase 3, DBase 4, and it was just a very influential product. And it really opened people's ideas as to what could be done with the local area network and computers and databases, and it caught on like wildfire. SQL 6.0 was the first kind of really serious, widely publicly distributed version of SQL, and this came out in about June 1995. And this was the first Microsoft-only release. Now, Microsoft and Sybase decided to go their separate ways, and so this was the first official Microsoft-only version of SQL 6.0. Now, it still had a lot of the foundations and underpinnings of Microsoft and Sybase's early workings. And keep in mind, this is where Transact SQL came from that early partnership. Then SQL 6.5 appeared in April 1996, and again, more bells and whistles, a little cleaner, a little smoother, still not what we would call a real stable database system by today's standards, but where the magic really started happening for Microsoft was SQL 7.0. Now, this came about and was released in January 1999. It was a totally new architecture. At the time, Microsoft marketed this as like an 80% rewrite of all the code that made the application work, and it gave us a lot more features, a real slick, much nicer user interface. And then SQL 2000, the product continued to mature and grow. Notice how fast these things were coming out, just a year or two apart. And SQL 2000 introduced a tool that really captured everybody's attention. It was called Data Transformation Services, or DTS. Microsoft advertised this tool as it will take data from anywhere and move it or pump it anywhere. And, you know, you hear this stuff all the time from manufacturers, and we all were like, yeah, sure, I bet, tell me something else that's, going to work everywhere. And then we saw this thing happen, and it actually did it. And this was a very, very influential app in the database world. Then in 2005, around November, we got SQL 2005. This introduced integration services, which was DTS, new and improved, a lot more complex. We could do a lot more things with DTS. It was really grown up and matured. And then we got Reporting Server. And Reporting Server is the first product out there that really competed with Crystal Reports. And if you've never looked at Reporting Server, you owe it to yourself to go take a look at this product. It's fantastic. It just fits right in with SQL Server. Then Analysis Services, data warehousing, data cubes, and all that appeared in SQL Server 2005. Then SQL 2008 appeared in August 2008. Then right on the heels of that, in April 2010, we got SQL Server 2008 Release 2, or R2. It added more features. And then, of course, SQL Server 2012 appeared and was finally released March 6, 2012. Now, that's kind of how SQL Server has gotten to us. And keep in mind, with every release, Microsoft has worked to make the product more stable, to make it easier to administer, to make it work at higher service levels, and to make it more highly available and stable. And so it's continued to evolve, and it is a mature product. And it's probably its biggest competitor right now is Oracle. They have this pretty bitter, intensive competition going on. And depending on whose website you look at, they both claim to have the fastest enterprise database server out there based on certain benchmarks. But anyway, that's a quick look at SQL Server's history. This will kind of help you around the water fountain and make you look like a little more knowledgeable than what you may actually be if you're new to the environment. So that's some basic SQL Server history.